This is the way that Louisiana Senator David Viter has tended to turn up in the past couple of years when he does turn up on cable news. This is a short clip, but you have to wait to the end because, naturally, he's the punchline. See if you can spot the irony in this particular line of questioning being pursued by this particular United States senator.
Do you think that the incentives that are set up in firms like Goldman Sachs are the proper incentives to have folks engage in ethical behavior?
Senator, I think Goldman Sachs works hard to engage in ethical behavior in all aspects.
Didn't say that. Do you think that those incentives are there that lead to ethical behavior?
Imagine what it was like in the Republican cloakroom before this hearing. Okay, who's going to really go after these guys for unethical behavior? Who's going to go after these guys on ethics? John Ensign, you up for it? John Ensign currently under federal and Senate investigation on ethics charges related to stooping your employee and your former staffer's wife. John Ensign, you want to be our ethics point man here? Hey, David Viter, you want to see if there's a way to go after him on hookers? That's the way David Viter has been making his appearances recently on cable news, actually over the last couple of years. Senator David Viter crusaded against Bill Clinton for him having had an extramarital affair. Senator David Viter campaigned for his office on the basis of his own purported superior family values.
Bottom line, for the sake of our children, there are a lot of things I'm going to change.
Great, David. You can start by changing Jack.
I'm David Viter, and I approve this message.
Marriage, it's often said, but it's very, very true, and it is worth repeating. Marriage is truly the most fundamental social institution in human history. Now think about that statement and the significance of it.
Once David Viter got elected after proclaiming his own good family values and his stern disapproval of other people's bad family values, David Viter then got caught up in a prostitution scandal or two. His name turned up on the phone list of the D.C. Maddow, and David Viter apologized.
I want to again offer my deep, sincere apologies to all those I have let down and disappointed with these actions from my past. I am completely responsible, and I'm so very, very sorry. No matter how long ago it was, I know this has hurt the relationship of trust I've enjoyed with so many of you, and that I have a lot of work to do to rebuild that.
You know, sometimes when politicians show up on client lists at the local hooker emporium, especially if they've been a family values campaigner, sometimes they have to quit, but not David Viter. About a year after he stood alongside his wife apologizing, he stood with former Idaho Senator Larry Craig and other Republicans co-sponsoring the Marriage Protection Amendment. So marriages like those of David Viter, the hooker guy, could be protected from the grave threat of same-sex couples being allowed to get married too. While David Viter's coffee-out-the-nose stunning hypocrisy has led to him being sort of a national joke on the internet and on cable news, it really hasn't had much of an effect on his political career. In Washington, in Beltway circles, it's like everybody's afraid to mention the hooker thing. They all pretend like it isn't happening. At least they did. Someone has now finally crossed the Rubicon with David Viter and the hooker problem and some of his other women problems. Cross the Rubicon right square in the middle of Senator Viter hypocristan, along with the senator's troubling record on other issues. Check this out.
I'm Charles Melanson, and I approve this message.
We know how David Viter handled his serious sin. And when Viter's staffer violently abused his girlfriend, Senator Viter let him keep his job working on women's issues. David Viter on women. He voted against equal pay for equal work, against coverage for mammograms, even against protections for women raped on the job. David Viter. For women, his serious sin isn't even his worst.
David Viter's Democratic opponent in the November election, Charlie Melanson, has finally pointed out the big elephant for hire in David Viter's political living room. He has also set up two websites to go after Senator Viter, SeriousSins.com and ForgottenCrimes.com. I cannot believe those URLs were not already taken. Joining us now from New Orleans is Clancy Dubos. He's owner of Gambit Weekly. Mr. Dubos, thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Rachel. Pleasure to be here.
Does David Viter have a sort of standard way to respond to an attack like this? It seems to me like people in politics have actually been pretty shy about going after him on this issue.
Well, I think there are two reasons. First of all, Viter has two modes of response. When he's caught by the press or cornered by reporters, he tends to run and duck. He went into hiding for weeks after the prostitution scandal broke and after the latest scandal involving his staffer attacking the girlfriend. He went into hiding for a week or so. But when opponents attack him, he tends to fire back at least with equal ferocity. In fact, when he was a state representative, his own colleagues gave him the nickname Bitter Viter. And I think people know that if you're going to tangle with David Viter, you're in for a fight because he's sort of epitomizes that old adage about no rules in a knife fight.
I was going to ask you if one of the reasons that David Viter keeps surviving things that a lot of other people wouldn't survive, is because he has backup from the GOP in the state, because the state party and power brokers in the state party really like him. But you're saying that they're more afraid of him than they like him?
I think the Republican Party in Louisiana likes or loves the governor, Bobby Jindal. They tolerate David Viter. I don't think David Viter has that many close personal BFFs in the Republican Party. They know him for what he is, but they do like the fact that he's a conservative. He's a senator. He's the first Republican U.S. senator from Louisiana since Reconstruction, so they like that. So they tolerate everything else.
What do you anticipate will be the impact of Charlie Melanson going there, essentially, with David Viter on this issue about which the press has gone after him, but a lot of other politicians really have not?
Well, I think this was inevitable. I think Melanson decided to fire back when Viter attacked him with a commercial. And both of these men, coincidentally, have to survive their own respective party primaries, but both of them are expected to do so. So it's almost as if Viter and Melanson are looking past the August 28th party primaries and already going at each other. And I think what we can expect is an increase in the temperature, which is kind of a Louisiana tradition.
Do you think that this attack on this particular type of issue, though, will resonate with Louisiana voters? Are those things that are brought up in that very hard-hitting ad, are they the sort of thing that voters are receptive to hearing about, that they're likely to react to, or is there a possibility that it will backfire?
I don't think it will backfire. First of all, just about everybody in Louisiana knows about Hookergate for David Viter, and most people probably know about the staffer, although they might not know all of the details. I think that ad, if you look at it closely and listen to it just once or twice more, you will see that, in my opinion, it's aimed directly at women. And I think polls have shown that if Viter has a weak underbelly, it is with women voters who will not like his hypocrisy, will not like his phoniness on the family values thing, where he wrote an op-ed about Bill Clinton not being morally fit to be president, and the whole time since then was, mingling with hookers and paying for sex. And women just have a short fuse on that, understandably. And then this latest round with the aide who stabbed his girlfriend and threatened to kill her, and then Viter kept him on. I think he punished him for a week. He suspended him for 1 week and then put him back on and put him in charge of women's issues. I think a lot of women are going to respond to that by having some very serious concerns about David Viter. And I think Melanson knows that that's part of Viter's underbelly.
Clancy Dubos, the owner of Gambit Weekly, joining us from Louisiana. Thank you so much for your time tonight, sir. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Rachel. Thank you.
So the National Democratic Party has put together what is probably its most potent, most effective, most devastating anti-Republican political hit in at least a year. They have done it. Naturally, they have released it on a Friday in August. It's still a kick in the teeth, though. That's coming up.